Atrez season is the busiest season of all. And so I began to think, God, how can this relate back to the Bible? What can I say to your people? And there was one person who came to mind. So he took me to the story of Joseph.
All right.
So we're going to be doing a little skipping around and everything, but we're going to start at Joseph 37:3. But before I get started, I'm going to give you a little backstory. I'm sorry, Genesis 37:3. I'm thinking of Joseph. But Genesis 37:3. So let me give you a little backstory on Joseph. I know y'all already know all these theologians and everything, but I just want to refresh it, because we know that Joseph was Jacob's favorite son of all of his sons. So, and I began to think, I was like, of my two girls, I don't have a favorite. And how is Joseph the favorite son? So God took me back to the word and he said, you got to look at the story of Jacob. See, Joseph was the first child of Jacob and Rachel.
Yes.
Rachel is the woman who he worked 70 years for.
Yes.
And then the daddy said, you know what, but I got this older child, Leah, and Leah needs to be married off before Rachel.
Yeah.
So Jacob married Leah, and he was like, but that ain't what I wanted. So the daddy said, okay, Jacob, you can work another 7 years and I'll give you Rachel. So this woman he fell in love with, and he worked for her for 14 years to get her. So when there is fruit from that companionship, that becomes his favorite. So because he's thinking to himself, I had to work 14 years for the woman that I love, and she gave me you. So in Genesis 37:3, it says, Jacob loved Joseph more than his other children, because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But the other brothers hated Joseph because of their father's love for him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a word to him. How many of you, God has looked at you and he has decorated you and clothed you with something, but man keeps trying to strip you of it? Man keeps trying to take it from, because God had favor upon you. They couldn't stand it so much that they decided, we're going to take it into our own hands. Because, we try to talk about you, but then God done warned us not to talk about you. So we got to do everything we can to destroy you, to take away your reputation. We're going to do everything we can to destroy your name because of the favor that's upon you. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. See, the whole thing is, some would look at this and say, okay, Joseph already has favor on his life. He's getting stuff that other people aren't getting. And sometimes we'll think that we're, okay, God, we started off good, but somewhere things went bad. Lord, I've been serving you, and at first when I prayed, you answered me right away. But now it seems like everybody wants to strip me of the favor that you've given to me. So I'm going to skip down, and we all know the story. Joseph was sold into slavery. They lied to Jacob and said, oh, he dead. He dead. He got killed, didn't he? He dead. And Jacob was so distraught. So it goes on years that Joseph is going through a whole life of turmoil where he's become a prisoner, and he's going through all of this stuff, but yet no matter what you go through, the gifts that God has given you will forever stand. They can talk about you, they can take the coat from you, they can take the decorations from you, they can take the title from you, but they can't take the gift from you. They can't take from you what God has given to you.
That's right.
So in Joseph's life, he's going through all of this stuff. He's being lied on. He's been betrayed. He's thrown into prison. But it was his gift that God gave him that rescued him. So let's drop down to Genesis 42, chapter 42, verse 6. Now remember, while Joseph is going through all of this stuff in his life, his brothers are still living their life. They're still they're still getting married, having families and everything. Everything seems to be going well for them. How many of us are going through things and we're looking at everybody else and it seems to be going well for them? But if you look in the mirror of where God has brought you from, you'll realize, God, I got the victory too. Yeah, it might be going good for them, but I got the victory too. And this is what Joseph realized. Let's look at verse 6 real quick. It says, since Joseph was governor of all of Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all the people, it was to him that his brothers came. His brothers. Those same brothers that sold him and lied to his daddy. Here they come. And when they arrived, they bowed before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers instantly. And he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. Where are you from? He demanded. From the land of Canaan, they replied. We have come to buy food. This is the beginning of Joseph's harvest season. It wasn't when he became governor that his harvest season began. God was just setting him up. How many of you know what you're going through right now? God is just setting you up. He's setting you up. Don't count what is going on right now your victory. Don't shortchange God. Let me say that again. Don't count what's going on right now as your victory. God has greater things planned for you. If Joseph was to say, I'm governor, look at me, God, you done it, okay, I have arrived, he would have never seen the extent of what God wanted to do for him. He would have never seen his family come back together. See, we look at one thing and say, oh, God did it. Yeah, that's it. And God is saying, this is just the beginning of my plan unfolding. Don't stop me while I'm on the road. Don't stop me just because you're satisfied. God isn't satisfied with the ending yet. So he's already written the story. And you want him to close the book a little bit early. Don't do it. Don't do it. So here, I'm going to go back and forth. So here he is. Joseph sees his brothers. I know who y'all are. I know who y'all are. I know what you did. But God has raised me up past that. God has put me in a place. He's given me a peace about it. Not only has he given me a peace about it, but he told me to help you. He told me to help deliver you from what you're in right now. But see, in the midst of this, Joseph had to take it to the side and he had to cry a bit. Because he had remembered, y'all know how y'all treated me. I know what y'all did to me. But still, let me cry for a moment. But at the end of my crying, I'm going to get back to what God told me to do. God told me to love y'all. He told me to care for you. He told me, listen, the brothers thought, okay, Joseph told them, he said, y'all spies. Y'all coming to betray me. Y'all coming to destroy me. I'm going to put y'all into prison. As they were in prison, they had shelter. They had food. In the middle of a famine. They thought, you are humiliating us. But they didn't realize he was taking care of them. He was taking care of them. Basically, they had a hotel with room service. when nobody else had any food.
That's right.
They thinking he go, what have we done? God is paying us back for everything that we done. And the whole time Joseph's thinking, take care of them. Keep the other prisoners away from them. Keep them safe. And when he brought them back, he said, now listen, I know this isn't all y'all. They said, yeah, we had another one, but he's no longer with us. And we have a brother who's at home. Daddy wouldn't let him come because last time us boys went out, we came back one short. So Daddy wouldn't let him come. So Joseph said, I'll tell you what, go back and get him, but one of y'all got to stay. I need some collateral.
All right.
For you, make sure you gonna come back. See, oh God, I thank you, Lord. I just heard that. He said, some of us have left some collateral.
Jesus.
And we're gonna have to go back to our blessed place. And get what we're supposed to get. But there is something that we gotta do first before we go back there. What that is, only you and God know.
That's right.
But don't leave your collateral because you don't want to finish your mission. Don't leave your collateral. So here Joseph is. He said, y'all go back. I want you to bring the other brother back. So let's go to verse 43 real quick. Chapter 43. In verse 29. This is after Jacob has reluctantly allowed Benjamin, who's the youngest brother, to come back with the boys in order to get the collateral. See, the importance of Benjamin is the other child of Jacob and Rachel. So while the other brothers are half brothers, they the sons of Leah, the first one that was married. So they his half brothers. But Benjamin is the second child of the loved Rachel, the work for Rachel. So here, Jacob done said, listen, y'all gonna make this old man cry if you lose this son. Because this is what I have left of Rachel. So in verse 29 it says, then Joseph looked at his brother Benjamin, the son of his own mother, which tells you that's the child of Rachel. So that's not my half brother. That's my blood brother right there. That's my blood brother. And he says, is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about? Joseph said, may God be gracious to you, my son. Then Joseph hurried from the room because he was overcome with his emotion from seeing his brother. Excuse me. He went into his private room where he broke down and wept.
All right.
Listen, in your harvest season, when God is doing this for you, don't think it's strange that you have to break down and weep sometimes. In your season, we have so lifted up my season, thinking that my season, I'm supposed to be happy all the time in my season because that's God's time for me. But the truth about your season is, during your season, in order to fully embrace where you are, you have to accept where God has brought you from. So he had to accept, you know what? I done forgave my brothers. I've accepted what's going on. I know how they treated me. But in his harvest season, at the peak of his harvest season, he had to remember back when. So in your harvest season, while you're collecting all of this stuff, you have to, I remember when I was first sowing this seed. I was hot that day. I was tired, but I knew that in the end, it was going to work out. God is saying, don't forget during your harvest season where you came from. Don't forget everything that God has done for you from the season of planting to the time of harvest.
That's right.
Because sometimes while we're collecting the harvest, we're going to have to remember how I planted this seed. Because sometimes as you're walking along that field, there may be a dip in the ground. And you can hurt yourself if you walk in that dip. But while you're harvesting, you got to remember, oh, there's a dip right there. I remember it hurt me last time. It had me down. You got to remember that God is saying, I'm trying to teach you that if you follow me, if you honor me, if you humble yourself before me, I will do this thing for you. But don't forget where you came from just because of what you have.
That's right.
Because I've blessed you, you don't forget how you had to pray when you didn't have. Because of where you are, you need to be thanking me for that time. Listen, here's a good example. I was talking to Mama the other day. And I told her, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and they said, well, we're asking you to do a lot, and I know that, we understand that, but you're willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. And I said, because I am where I prayed to be. I'm not going to forget when I was sowing the seed.
That's right.
Because when I was sowing the seed, I was praying for the harvest. Now that the harvest is here, I'm not going to forget. I'm going to pray twice as hard. It's not the time for me to sit down and be like, oh, well, God, you do it, and watch him do it. No, God is saying, I need you to collect the harvest. It is not your time to sit down and rest during your season. It's your time to say, okay, God, where else do you want me to plant? What else do you need me to do? Joseph realized he experienced it. During the best part of my life, everything that God had promised me, during that time, I still had to go back to when I was going through the toughest time of my life. I had to realize that, you know what, God, I needed you then, but I need you even more now. I needed you when they took the coat off of me and threw me into the well, and they sold me off. But I need you even more now because I need your wisdom. How do I treat these boys that done sold me off and told my daddy I was dead? Done stole a lifetime from me. I need you to give me some wisdom. We have to realize that our harvest season is the toughest season. But it's not the time to give up. It's not the time to give up. If you have to cry, do like Joseph. Go into your own private room and cry. Don't let the enemy see you crying. Go into your private room, cry, and then come back and finish what God has told you to do. He washed his face. Wash your face. Make sure. I'm going to get rid of every evidence of it. If I just need to take a break real quick. I'll be right back. But I'm not about to give up. I'm not about to step out of where God has placed me just because you walk back into my life. I'm not going to forget everything that God has done because you decided to come get your right mind together and come back to me. Joseph said, after all of this, Joseph finally revealed himself to the brothers. I am the one that you talked about. I'm the one that you sold off. I'm the one that you lied and told daddy you were dead, that I was dead. It's me. And let me say, this is how God does. Now go back and get daddy. Y'all gonna have to explain to daddy what happened. Your enemies will have to be the one to explain themselves. Quit trying to explain your enemies to other people. Let them explain themselves. Well, this happened because so-and-so did that. That happened. It's not your job to explain what the devil been doing. Make the devil have to explain himself. Can you imagine that conversation? Going back, hey, daddy, yeah. Because see, Joseph did. He kept Benjamin while they went back and got Jacob. So here go the brothers. Daddy, the governor want you. And he got your baby, the boy that you told us not to lose. He got him. He gonna keep him. And he want you to come. Remember, Jacob was already in his old age when these boys were born.
That's right. That's right.
So he's even older now. So you gonna make me get up out of my chair, ride all the way to Egypt to retrieve what I told you not to lose. I told you I would die if something happened to you.
That's right. That's what I told.
And you let something happen to you. Now I got to get up I got to pack all my stuff for this journey. And I got to go retrieve. And as soon as Joseph said, this is who I am, can you imagine the look on those boys' faces?
Oh, my. Yeah.
Can you imagine the look on their faces? What have we done? But here Joseph is, but God kept me.
Yeah.
He set me into a place so that I can help you for such a time as this. Are you prepared for God to do this next move and you not say, I told you this is who God told me I was. I told you God had favor on me. Are you prepared for your enemies to be looking at you and you just say, now let's move forward. Let's go on. Let's be about our Father's business. Are you prepared to do that? Because that's what harvest season entails. All this planning that you've been doing, all this work that you've been doing. You've been saying you're working for God, and God is saying, I'm working for you. And working for you is part of bringing back the family. Bringing back those pieces that you thought were gone. That other people done lied about. And God is bringing it back together. Are you prepared to say, you know what? I know this happened. I know that happened. But let's carry on from here. Let's move on. If you're not prepared for that, you're not prepared for harvest time. Because harvest time is where God is going to give you everything that you've been fighting for, that you've been praying for, that you've been working for. And God is not going to separate the harvest of what you want and what you don't want.
That's right.
You cannot pick and choose. Either you accept the harvest or you walk away from it. The choice is yours.
That's right.
Amen.